Hi, welcome back, you beautiful souls, to the next part in the new series I started. I'm. I really want to thank all of you subs that have come over to Discord. I'm making another episode on this because I've had a lot of engagement on this. I've had few of you that have asked me a few things in messages. I've talked about some things that I want to do with the series in Discord, and a lot of you are surprisingly really like this series. So I'm going to get this recorded, and then I'm going to work on another what if that I've been promising to do. I just wanted to get a couple of these out and do a couple of things with a few of them before I hit 1K so that I can start tying in things together. So that being said, let's get into our story. Where we last left off, Izuku and Katsuki finally had their talk, the reunion talk, where Izuku, after the first day of school, realized that no one really recognized him anymore. Even though he sort of recognized everyone else. He wasn't sure of their names. But Katsuki didn't introduce himself, so that got him to thinking about other people, so he did start recognizing a few of the other kids as some of the kids that were in their neighborhood. And if Katsuki didn't recognize him, that means definitely no one else did, because Katsuki was the only one that he really had a friendship with before he was quirkless. So, that being said, we cut to the next day. And everyone shows up, and Izuku kind of comes running through the door and apologizes for being late, then kind of walks up to the front of the classroom. And everyone's kind of looking at him. And this is before the teacher has gotten there. And he says, sorry, he walks to the front, and once he gets there and everyone kind of starts looking at him, he kind of makes a roar. And a few of the other kids kind of quiet down and look up at him, and Izuku says, sorry, I have something to say. Hi, my name is Ryu Izuku Tatsume. And, well, I didn't introduce myself properly yesterday, and some of you might have used to know me as Izuku Midoriya. I'm back. And he begins to walk to his seat, and he sits down. And pretty much some of the kids are like, what the hell? What the fuck? He's Deku? And so he, like I said, he walks over and sits down, and this is when Katsuki walks over and looks at him, and he's like, so Izuku, you became a lizard boy. Kind of grinning a little bit. And everyone's like, yeah, he really fucked up with messing with Katsuki like that. Now he's definitely going to get it more. And as soon as Katsuki said that, Izuku rebuttals with, what was that, Sparky? And everyone else is even more shocked because, well, that's something that can really piss Katsuki off. And the two begin to kind of laugh at each other. And so everyone's even more freaked out about this, and then Katsuki basically says to some of his friends when he goes to sit down, and it's overheard by some of the other kids, and they're like, so what's going on with you and the new kid? Well, Deku. And he kind of looks at him and is like, what do you mean? He's not useless. But why did you call him, like, Lizard Boy? And he looks over at Izuku and he says, huh, he has a tail, and he also has wings. He has a tail, and it's kind of funny. And Izuku kind of, like, looks over and kind of, like, snarls a little bit. And he's like, well, whatever. The teacher should be hearing one. We should probably get quiet down, guys. So, this interaction, like, with Izuku kind of apologizing and then basically jumping up and flying, basically taking his, like, true form and flying away, did leave an impact on Katsuki. This Katsuki was, yeah, he's still, like, an ass, but he's more like, I would say, Endeavor's personality at the start of the anime/manga. So, that brings me to my other point. Like, Endeavor in this one, it has been shown that he does actually care about his kids in later chapters, and it's season 4 now, so it's slight spoiler from here on out. But we'll get into that in a little bit. So, 3 years have passed. Izuku and Katsuki have had fights back and forth with each other, and Katsuki has tried to, like, explode Izuku, and Izuku just kind of tanks it and says, is that all you got? And mutely punches Katsuki. And by that time, like, adults have pretty much, like, come by to, like, break up the fight. So they have this, like, rivalry where, like, one will outdo the other in a fight, and then the next time, like, one will get further closer to beating the other, kind of thing go on. And so now we're 3 years after Izuku has returned, so that would make him 12. Or no, 9. Make him 11. My bad, because I'm aging it up because there's 13. Yeah. Yes. So, like, Izuku, he gets up and he comes downstairs, and Ryuko, she asks him, like, so, what's your plans for the day? And Izuku says, I'm not sure. Finals were pretty rough, and I'd like to kind of relax. And Izuku looks at Ryuko, and Ryuko kind of has, like, a little bit of a strain of has a view of, like, kind of like a disappointment, but not like she's disappointed in Izuku. And then so Izuku looks at her and sees this look on her face, and he asks, like, Mom, like, what's up? Did you have something planned? And Ryuko says, well, dear, there's some people that I would like you to meet, and, well, the reason for that is, a few years ago, a boy, he was burned really bad by his mom, and Izuku kind of cuts her off and is like, well, so you thought that I might be able to help him. And Ryuko says, yeah, if you don't want to, like, you don't have to. I haven't even, like, talked to his dad about it yet. And Izuku's like, well, maybe not today. I kind of want to enjoy some, like, free time to just kind of read and do some flying. It's been so long since I can just fly. Ryuko kind of laughs. It's like, okay, well, I still have to talk to the child's dad and see if it's okay with him first. Enjoy your summer break. So over this week, Izuku is going, or no, 2 weeks. Izuku is going to be kind of training, and he'll meet up like every once in a while to like spar with Katsuki. But they pretty much like keep their distance, sorta, kindish away from each other. But they're always like at each other's throats. But they're not like trying to kill each other. It's weird. Like, most people would think that these two absolutely hate each other's guts, but that's not necessarily the case if they just saw them interact. So, Endeavor in this, and yes, the boy that was burned is Shoto. Endeavor in this, the change that happens in season 4 when he has his talk with All Might, he's going to kind of have that change a lot sooner. Matter of fact, the day that Shoto is hurt, he begins to change. So we'll still have some daddy issues with Todoroki, but it would be more into like him not liking his dad because his mom's scared of his dad, kind of thing, but he still will speak to his father. But Endeavor, like, he gets a call one day, like, he is out doing, like, hero work, that Shoto had been burned, and he's in the hospital, and his wife has been arrested for child abuse. So he makes his way to the hospital, and he sees Shoto in the bed, and he starts to scream, and a nurse walks over and kind of sedates him. And this just shocks Endeavor, and he then gets like a police officer like walks up to him and explains what's happened with his wife, and this makes him realize like how bad he had gotten, and like how his attitude with Shoto kind of put, and his wife kind of put a bad spot with his family. So, and I would say this happened about a year after Izuku had come back from the Dragonborn village. So, about 2 years ago. So, during this time, Ryuko's making, like, a few phone calls to, like, kind of set up a meeting with Endeavor for, like, a personal engagement kind of thing. And that happens about a week and a half after she had spoken to Izuku about it. And when she meets up with Endeavor, she's kind of grinning at him, like this still that I found that was pulled from an episode. And Endeavor asks her, like, so what did you need to speak to me about? And she's like, you really have changed. Kind of grinning a little bit. And she's like, well, I heard about your wife and son. And Endeavor, like, kind of gets angry a little bit. It's like, what? Are you gonna freaking rag on me again? Are you gonna rag on me for, like, how I treated my family and caused this whole situation? And Ryuko's like, no, that's not it. I was just, you've really changed since then. Like, past 2 years, like, you've changed quite a bit, Inji. And Endeavor's like, it's Todoroki to you. We're not friends. Well, Ryuko says, well, that will probably change. Just hear me out. And Endeavor's like, fine, what is it, Tatsume? So she basically explains that she has a child, and Endeavor like freaks out, and he's like, but I thought you weren't able to have kids. How's that even possible? So when I said like Ryuko being known, like it's known she can't have kids, like it's known, like she legitimately cannot have kids whatsoever. There's no magical means, and there's no scientific means that they can do this. And the reasoning behind this is during her right to adulthood, when she gained the right of adulthood by combat, she was stabbed in the gut. Basically, the blade was big enough and it hit her in such a way that it destroyed her, ovaries. I know that's a little cringe, and some of you probably don't do that, but I did study biology in college, and there literally is like no other way to describe it without being misinformation a little bit. So Ryuko sustained an injury that destroyed her ovaries. And she did have a little bit of a scar. But Izuku saw this one day and kind of walked over to her and put his hand next to it and said a prayer and kind of healed her. And she has since gotten checked, and her ovaries are still gone. But the scar that's on her stomach is no longer there. And Izuku did apologize about it, but Endeavor is like, so you adopted a kid not too long after what happened with mine, and he can heal Shoto? And it was like, yeah, but only if it's okay with you. So Endeavor agrees to this, and they set up a day for like the weekend, because Endeavor, he does like hero work, but he does make a point where there's 2 days out of the week that he spends with his family, and he will still do hero work if it's absolutely necessary. And a few of their like family like outings and stuff, he has stopped in and stopped like petty crime or like petty theft and stuff like that. So it's not like he gives up on hero work entirely, but his focus is more on his family. So we cut to the end of that week, and Ryuko has like talked to Izuku, so they're flying, and they arrive at the Todoroki residence. And so I'm going to use in this the theory that Dabi is one of Endeavor's kids, and that him whole running away kind of compounded it, and Endeavor is searching for his son. But the damage was done to the point where like that relationship is pretty much done. So Shoto's older sister answers the door, and she's like, Miss Ryuko, what brings you here today? And Endeavor walks to the door, and he's like, Tatsume, is it time? And Ryuko kind of smiles and says yes. And Izuku introduces himself as Ryu Tatsume to like Shoto's sister and Endeavor. And Shoto's older sister basically says, wait, Miss Ryu, I thought you can't have kids. And She looks a little upset about this, and the older sister kind of apologizes and is like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. And she's like, it's fine. He's not mine, but I adopted him, so. But we're here because of young Todorokis. I can find out he had a very bad injury, and well, my son here, he can potentially help out with that. So one moment, it is bothering me. Alright, so Fuyumi introduces herself and says, really, you can potentially help? And this is when Izuku says, yeah, I'm fairly certain. I was able to heal Mom's. And Ryuko says, he was able to heal my scar. But unfortunately, and Izuku says, well, but unfortunately, and this is when Ryuko says, it's fine. It's fine, Izuku. You tried. I'm okay with that. I'm still happy. I can finally wear a bikini. which makes Fuyumi kind of blush a little bit, and Izuku blushes too because of embarrassment. And he's like, Mom. So Shoto's introduced to Izuku, and Izuku explains that he can get rid of the scar. And Shoto says, really? I don't know if I want it gone, though. And so Shoto basically says he doesn't want to get it healed. But after a day hanging out with Izuku, Shoto learning about Izuku's parents and everything and sort of what he's been through, says, well, in that case, if you think you can, then let's do it. So Izuku walks over to him, and he basically brings his wings out and his tail, and he's towering over Shoto. And Endeavor is kind of shocked at this. And Ryuko, and so is Fuyumi. And Ryuko basically says, well, this is what he really looks like. He actually uses his transformation ability to kind of hide that and change his size a little bit. First time I saw him, I thought he was an adult. And Endeavor says, yeah, if I would have seen this first, I would have thought he was an adult too. I probably would have thought he was your... And he stops at that. Because Ryuko is kind of looking at him with kind of a look of disgust a little bit. And he's like, sorry. So Izuku basically kneels down and places his hand on Shoto's face and says, by the name of Bahamut, regenerate! And mind you, this is not regeneration. It's not a perfect healing, but it can heal a mortal wound without it leaving a scar. And since it's an old injury, there's still some internal damaging. Basically, now Shoto, yes, he no longer has a scar, but that part of his face is very sensitive to heat, which adds a little something we can do with Shoto's quirk. So they spend like the rest of the evening, like they have dinner, and Endeavor is just absolutely thinking Izuku and everything. And this begins to make Shoto and, well, Fumi is always like had her dad's back, kind of always giving him the benefit of the doubt. Sort of from what I've been able to kind of gather with that. So as Izuku and Ryuko is kind of leaving, they do like Shoto kind of thinks Izuku and asks if they can hang out some other time. And Izuku kind of smiles, like kind of grins, and it's a little off-putting because basically a dragon smiling, it looks like it could be easily mistaken that they think that you look tasty. Kind of look. And Izuku then apologizes, like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, like, insinuate that. So they leave, and now we're going to have another time skip. See, I did 3 years, so to make them... Now, we can actually go over that year, and then I'll end this part. So, one day, a couple months later, Shoto has, him and Izuku have hung out a little bit, and Izuku has gotten Shoto to, like, use his fire reluctantly. But when he does, like, he has a pain in his face where his scar was. And so Izuku, over these, like, next couple months, has kind of made him to start using his fire side, but also has helped him to kind of use his ice on his other side of his body. Basically, what Shoto does is create, like, a half of an ice helmet, kind of, to, like, kind of cover up that portion of his face when he activates his fire side. And eventually this will lead to Shoto being able to use ice and fire from either side eventually. And so this day after school, Katsuki kind of comes up to Izuku and he's like, are we going to spar today? And Izuku says, no, I'm meeting up with a friend today to kind of do that. And Izuku kind of pauses and he's like, do you want to come along? I think you two would get along. You guys have kind of similar personalities, and, well, I think you will, like, meet his dad. And Katsuki's like, who's his dad? And Izuku's like, well, I can't tell unless you agree not to say anything about this. So Katsuki kind of agrees reluctantly. So as they're walking, he's like, so Lizard Boy, who's his dad? And who are you talking about? Well, Todoroki, his dad's a hero. And he's like, well, what was it? Firecracker? He's like, well, Firecracker, his family name's Todoroki, so... And Katsuki's like, what? His dad is Endeavor? His dad's don't tell me his dad's Inji Todoroki, the number 2 hero Endeavor. And Izuku's like, yeah, that. Well, damn, like, Endeavor's kind of, like, in recent years has, like, kind of become my favorite hero. He's changed. He's not really an ass anymore, but he can still be kind of a jerk, you know? So in this, Katsuki, over the past couple of years, has become more and more a fan of Endeavor than All Might. but he wants to be better than both of them combined. So Izuku calls up Shoto and he says, "Yo, Shoto, one of my friends from school, and actually someone, well, he's not really my friend, but we get along." Kind of punching Katsuki in the shoulder a little bit. So Shoto says, "Really? So does he know about?" And Izuki's like, "Yeah, I'm sorry." And Shoto's like, "No, it's fine, man. Like, sure, it's fine. He can come over too. Though, I do have to tell Dad." So Shoto informs his dad, and Endeavor is a little worried about this. For obvious reasons, because Shoto doesn't like using his fire side because he doesn't want to be associated with him because of after the accident, how he treated his family did come to light because one of his older kids did run away from home because of it. So his image was hurt a little bit, but he has since been able to gain public opinion back. But there is a sour taste in his mouth, in the public's mouth about that. So Izuku kind of like arrives, and Izuku basically goes into his real form a little bit and kind of flies up to the door and rings the doorbell. Shoto comes out and Izuku introduces the two, and then Endeavor comes out and welcomes Katsuki and Izuku. He's like, "Young Tatame, it's always a pleasure to see you, young man. And you must be the friend that was Bakugo, right? Welcome to my home, young man." And Katsuki is kind of like, "Yes, Endeavor, he knows my name." So they come in, and Endeavor kind of looks at Katsuki and says, "Young Bakugo, no need to be so tensed up." "Yes, I'm Endeavor, but when I'm here, you can call me Mr. Todoroki." And Katsuki's like, I can't do that, Endeavor, sir." And Endeavor kind of says, "Well, please do so. When I'm not suited up, or I'm not acting in a hero capacity, I'd like to be treated like a normal person." So Katsuki roll up and says, "Okay, well, Todoroki-sama?" And Endeavor kind of laughs, like, "Okay, you can do that if you need to." So he turns to Izuki and he's like, "Young Tatsume, what brings you here today with a friend?" And he's like, "Well, I was hoping maybe we can use the gem and you can give us some pointers and stuff." And Endeavor is like, "Huh, okay. Well, it does help young Shoto out here with his fire phobia." And so they spend the day, and Shoto's kind of just in awe because Endeavor's kind of standing next to him, giving him pointers about his quirk, and something he doesn't him or Izuku never really noticed after a sparring match that he had with Izuku when he released a howitzer impact at Izuku. He comes up and he says, "Young Bakugo, you don't seem too hurt by that." And Katsuki says, "Yeah, I kind of didn't. I don't know. I've always been not really hurt by the flames, but I've been the force behind it does give it. But I've since gotten used to being able to do it. I think I'm at a limit of 2 howitzer impacts, or 2 howitzer impacts at the same time. saying that he can do one with each hand, and the force is about half of what it originally was, but he's like, wait, you wouldn't happen to be Fey-blooded, would you? And Katsuki says, yeah. And he's like, well, maybe you have an immunity towards fire or something. And this is when he turns to Shoto, and he's like, Shoto, Izuku, he's already used his breath at his limits already in that fight. Do you mind helping out? And Shoto's like, I can't do that, Dad. And so he's like, well then, you can leave now if this is going to be too much for you. So Shoto and Izuku kind of Shoto kind of starts walking out of the gym, and he tells Katsuki that what's about happened, don't be alarmed by it, but I kind of need to go talk with Shoto. And Katsuki kind of nods, and he's like, fine, whatever, lizard boy. So after Shoto is left, Endeavor kind of explains to Katsuki his suspicion, and it is something that Izuku is suspicious about too with Katsuki. But Endeavor basically says, I think your Fey-blood gene gives you an immunity towards fire, somewhat. And well, there's a way we can test it out. As Endeavor produces a flame, he said, as Katsuki to kind of put his hand in it. And Katsuki does, reluctantly kind of looking at it with one eye closed as he puts his hand in the flame. And mind you, this is one of the weakest flames Endeavor can make. This is like his absolute weakest. So then Katsuki opens both of his eyes and he puts both of his hands in, and it's like, wow, this is crazy. I've never really tested this out. And then Endeavor says, well, this is my weakest flame. And do you want to find out what your limit is? Because we can test that. I can control my flames pretty well. I can even... And Katsuki's like, yeah, you can even make blue flames. That's, insane. And Endeavor's like, yeah, I can only do that for a few seconds. Maybe, at max, a few quick bursts. So Endeavor steadily raises the potency of his flames, and then Katsuki goes, ow, and then Endeavor immediately dissipates the flame. And he says, well, I guess your limit's there. And he's like, young Tatsumi, can you come here? Can you come back in here? And Izuku sees, Katsuki's hand a little singed, and he immediately runs over, and he says, healing hand. Basically healing the burn. And he looks at Endeavor, and he's like, Endeavor, that was kind of reckless. If I wasn't here, and Endeavor looks at him and is like, yes, I know. I wouldn't have did it if I knew it wouldn't been able to be fixed. And he turns to Bakugo and he's like, I'm sorry for hurting you, young man, but we now know what your temperature limit's at. I would say you can handle about 10% of my max, considering I can produce blue flame. And he's like, and from what my understanding, your explosions and the heat that you can produce are a lot stronger from when you were a kid, right? And Katsuki's like, yeah. So that means you can train that resistance. Who knows, maybe one day you can withstand my blue flame, kid. As Endeavor kind of laughs. And Shoto did kind of overhear this a little bit from the outside, and he walks in, and he's like, Dad, is it true? And Endeavor kind of looks at Shoto and he's like, I'm sorry, I didn't... It's true. And Izuku kind of gets what they're saying. So, with that, you beautiful souls, I'm going to leave this part off here, and I will tie up this 5 minutes that I had planned conversation between Shoto and Endeavor. So, like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already done so, and I will see you beautiful souls in the next video.